dance. Let me see you move.
Love never felt so good. Can't die if it never could. Not like you. Oh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome aboard to Local Matters, where living local, well, it never felt so good. Well, 50 years ago, young people transformed the national narrative surrounding civil rights. Today, America's young people are at another crossroads. It's a civil rights movement for the 21st century, they say. But what exactly will that movement look like? Well, I'll be joined with a young man who is the Director of Communications for the Justice and Civil Rights Initiatives to help us better understand why an overnight jail lockup was just what the organization needed to move it forward. He's going to join me on the set of Local Matters when we come right back. Hello, everyone, and welcome aboard to Local Matters, where living local, well, it never felt so good. And it never felt so good to have joining me on the set of Local Matters this morning a young man by the name of Jesse Edwards. He works with the Justice and Civil Rights Initiative here in Anniston, and he's going to talk to us about that initiative and that organization. So, Jesse, welcome aboard. Good to have you. Good to be sitting among young leadership right now, because it seems as though you and the others we'll talk about others involved in the organization. I always like to give that analogy that you are like this. So you're almost running track, you've got you're running, you've got your hand held back. And so you're waiting for someone to put that baton in your hand and then move it on forward. And we'll talk about that as well. So that's where you are. This is, in my opinion, that's where you are. So welcome aboard to Local Matters. Jesse Edwards, you are working with the Civil Rights and with the Justice and Civil Rights Initiative.
Yes.
Along with Ed Moore.
Yes.
He is the founder and president of that organization.
Yes, he is.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? First of all, you are the Director of Communications?
Yes.
And tell us.
I aid the founder and president, Ed Moore. I aid him in putting together press releases, in forming statements, and overall giving him advisement over how and when he should put emphasis on certain statements, on how to form his press releases.
Okay. Now tell me this, Jesse. I understand that the organization is still very relatively new. When did that organization, when did you guys start that organization?
The organization was originally founded as a JSU group in 2013.
Okay.
Earlier this year, the group finally broke away from the college and became a nonprofit proper.
Okay. So when you say a nonprofit proper, are you already 501c3 status yet, or not quite there yet?
We have the state paperwork. We don't have the federal paperwork yet.
Okay, so yes, so it's not quite yet, but working on it.
Yes.
Okay, so you started that in 2000. You broke away from JSU in 2013.
No, we broke away earlier this year.
Okay, just this year.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me, what are some of the missions? What is the mission of the Justice and Civil Rights Initiative?
The mission of the Justice and Civil Rights Initiative is to pursue civil and human justice in our communities.
Okay.
The pursuit of safety, security for all peoples, regardless of race, gender, creed, religion, etc.
Okay. Now, Jesse, I understand that's one of the reasons why you're here today. You were coming initially just to be more support for your team. And we got a last minute call that Ed Moore was working alongside the district attorney's office, and they've got some information that he could not come and join us, and he was very upset about that. But as we say, the show must go on. So there you are, standing for moral support, and you're probably feeling right about now that maybe I need some moral support, because you kind of got called out at the last minute, but you're doing a great job. So tell me this, there are other people involved with the Justice and Civil Rights Initiative. Tell me a little about who key leadership would be in the organization?
Well, there is, of course, the president and founder, Ed Moore III.
Okay, and I think we have a full screen of those young men. I'd like to see them there. That's some of the folks involved, yes?
Yes, the center stage is president and founder. To my left, so yeah, left on the screen, that's Torsten Dryden.
Okay.
He is the vice president. Next
Okay.
to him is Corey Sears, the security detail director.
Okay.
And other key members are up there, as well as a few ushers and other individuals who we call on to aid us in our events.
All right. Great deal. So here's my question. So you started the initiative at Jacksonville State University.
Yes.
And I think my main rationale, I'm confused. I want to understand, why did you think it was necessary to start an initiative on the campus of JSU and then now move it away from the university?
Ed Moore originally founded the Justice and Civil Rights Initiative due to his actually he had a career in reporting earlier.
Okay.
And he found in his reporting that a lot of the civil rights infractions that he had been interviewing, the victims had no idea about the options available to them. They didn't even know that their rights, that they had the ability to appeal or who they could appeal to.
Okay.
And so Ed founded the organization as to be a
So bring awareness, perhaps, maybe,
Yes.
Was he working maybe perhaps as a conduit between young people and law enforcement?
Yes, that's more or less how the organization operates. We act as a go-between between the authorities, the police departments, the district attorney's office, and the citizens who may feel lost or unsure as to who or where they can go when they feel like their rights have been violated.
And that's really important too, because a lot of times young people will feel, and now I can certainly see that was a great place to start it at Jacksonville State University.
Yes.
Because a lot of times young people now, they're at home, they're away from home, they may have found themselves in some trouble that they certainly did not want to be in, and now they're away from home. And the fact that they've got leadership right on the campus that they could have talked to and to help aid them in the process speaks volumes. We're going to talk more about that process when we come back with more Local Matters. Don't go away, we'll be right back. Hello everyone, welcome back to Local Matters, where living local, well, it never felt so good. It never felt so good to have joining me this morning Mr. Jesse Edwards, who is here. Sort of a last minute, he was coming. He's here, of course, representing the Justice and Civil Rights Initiative. Was coming initially for moral support for his colleagues, and then realized that he was going to be the man sitting in the hot seat. So, welcome aboard. Before we went to break, we were talking about how this young civil rights Justice and Civil Rights Initiative basically took root. So it started off on the campus of Jacksonville State University, a group of young people coming together with Ed Moore being sort of the head man in charge, if you will, saying that they wanted to provide more leadership and more support to young people who may not understand exactly what it all means to be involved with a case,
Yes.
with a criminal case. And so now it seems as though that organization has grown and have somewhat surpassed that, because you've moved away from the campus. You've moved away from the campus, and now you're more involved with community leadership.
Yes.
I believe I have some pictures I wanted to bring up, because I know that he has the support, the entire initiative have support from Dr. Bill Meehan. There he is with his wife, Beth.
Yes.
That's Ed Moore. Again, was not able to join us because of the last minute call away. And then now he's standing, of course, with our chief district attorney, Brian McVeigh. I believe that's Pastor Don. And then, of course, Ed Moore himself. And then, was that Dryden, the young man, last name Dryden?
Torsten?
Torsten, right.
Yes.
Is that him standing there?
I think it is.
Yeah. Okay. So now that the stars seem to be lining up for the initiative, taking on a more, being the community is wrapping its arms around the initiative. Tell us how you were able to go in and work with key leadership,
Yes.
local leadership.
Ed first made some headway with key leadership. He worked closely with the Calhoun County chapter president of the NAACP. He also worked closely with the chief of police, the district attorney's office. He's familiar with the Anniston city manager,
Okay.
along with key leaders in the community, including religious pastors and many authorities who oversee the protection of the community at large.
Okay. Okay, now, so Jesse, I'm not sure if you've heard this. I mean, you're a millennial, so there's all types of talk about millennials. But one of the things that is said about millennials is that they have this idea of entitlement. Well, you know, people fought back then and people died so that we could be able to sit at the front seat on the bus. We could eat at lunch counters wherever we wanted to. We could live wherever we want to. We could go to schools. And so it's been touted that millennials have this idea of entitlement, that civil rights, that was then, this is now. And that your organization is ushering in a whole new, fresh perspective to civil rights. What does that mean?
I think that it means that we're kind of redefining what civil rights means.
Okay.
For people 50 years ago, civil rights meant having the same access to the facilities, same access to all the same.
Having access to all of the amenities of life.
Yes, all
if
the
you will.
amenities of life. That's
Okay.
an excellent way to put it.
Okay.
As everyone else.
Okay.
Nowadays, or now, the idea of civil rights that we perceive is the same rights that everyone else has, which is really what it is, but what we're focusing on is changing.
Okay. So I think what you're saying is that, of course, we are still fighting to make sure that we remain and have the access to the same amenities, but it's taking on a much broader a broader fight now.
Yes.
When we're talking about not only the civil rights, but we're looking at all of the social aspects of civil rights.
Yes, that would be fairly accurate. We look at we look at both human and civil rights.
Okay. Okay.
For instance, while we were still at the college, Ed Moore oversaw an investigation on wrongful termination suits.
Okay.
Now that we've broken away, we're investigating all sorts of different infringements on human and civil rights.
Okay.
There's a number of cases that we're in that I'm not 100% sure on how much we're allowed to divulge
really,
because they're
right.
ongoing investigations.
That's right.
Things like shootings, violence in the community, those are the two big things that we're focusing on, is trying to ensure that people feel safe in their own communities. That's one of the civil rights that we feel that people should have the right to. And it is overlooked because in large portions of America, people do feel safe in their own communities. But there are still areas that people are afraid to walk down their street at night.
Yes. And I know most recently, Ed and the entire Justice and Civil Rights Initiative were working with the community because a young child, I think he was maybe 2 years old, was shot. And Ed Moore was right there, and he did have most of the establishment right behind him supporting that particular case.
Yes.
So most recently, Ed Moore did a pretty odd and unique act, particularly on the local level, where he transformed himself and he went inside the jails as a criminal. So we're going to talk about that when we come back with more local matters to better understand. I would like for you to help me to understand that. Why did he feel the need to do that? And we're going to talk about that when we come right back with more local matters. Don't go away. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Local Matters, where living local never felt so good. Jesse Edwards has been joining me all morning long. He is here with the Justice and Civil Rights Initiative, that really spun out of Jacksonville, Alabama, and the campus of Jacksonville State University, but it's certainly expanding now on a much broader scale. They work alongside law enforcement here in Calhoun County to help solve cases and to give people a better sense of security. We, at last break, were talking about that was your main mission, and most recently, the president, Ed Moore, who again was not able to join us, decided that he was going to take now somewhat of a unique step in his search and quest for what it means to be inside of a jail cell and to go in. But he went in with a whole transformational look, and I want to bring that up because we see Ed Moore here at a clean-cut look, and there he is more as he went into the jail with the dreads, and so he allowed the facial hair to grow. And so he really went in with a really edgy look. Jesse Edwards, help us understand, why do you feel he felt the need to change his entire look? Do you think he felt that people or society automatically feel that a person with dreads have a higher propensity to being a criminal or not?
Well, I think that there is definitely a sort of visual stereotype that people have when they think of people who go to jail. Mm-hmm. But Ed's transformation was more for the purposes of ensuring that his identity while undergoing this exercise was concealed. Mm-hmm. Because he is high profile and he works so close with various police officers as well as community leaders, he was concerned that while he was going through the processing system, that someone might recognize him and give him special treatment or very selective treatment because they recognized who he was.
Okay.
He decided that the dreads and the facial hair would be enough to throw people off the scent, as well as give him a general appearance similar to those that are often processed through the Anniston City
Exactly.
Jail.
If we bring that picture back up again, and you're right, it really does, because he looks like a totally different person. If you look at those two pictures side by side, he does definitely look like a different person.
Yes.
So I think that kudos for him in doing that, because I think in that sense that the job was well done to go in and transform himself. But here's the question I have for you, Jesse Edwards. I've been hearing other people say, this is coming more from the establishment, older generations, who have heard about what he did and understand why they're trying to better understand why he did what he did. Because, and I'm being the devil's advocate now, they've been saying, well, who cares? Who? He went in, he was highly monitored. He wasn't spit upon. He wasn't abused. He wasn't verbally abused in any kind of way. So what he did was mock, and that's wonderful. But there were people who actually went into the jail cells and died, and who were mistreated and were abused, and even died inside jail cells for whatever. And so now they're looking to understand what were the takeaways from that whole experience. Did he share with you with any of that?
He did. Ed Moore has said that the purpose of the exercise was not to understand what it is to be a prisoner in the Anniston City Jail. It was to understand the mentality, the state of mind that people have when they are getting processed in, sort of what kind of state of mind they're in while they're incarcerated, as well as what feelings they might have when they're being released. Because one of the things that we have taken notice in the community is many of the people who go back to jail go back because of the environment they're in. Because they're arrested for a crime, they go to jail, they're released, but they have nowhere else to go but right back into the environment that caused them to.
And it's funny you mentioned that most recently a store was robbed in Anniston, and it was two young men, and they were captured.
Yes.
And when they went, what they actually went in and took was just unbelievable to me. But after they were captured, they talked with the police and shared with the police that they did that specifically so that they could be arrested and go back, because they had been out for several weeks, and apparently they didn't have anyone to be there for them, and so they weren't able to find a job. Maybe the family was not there for them, so they did that specifically hoping to go back.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons why Ed underwent this exercise, was to try and get this mentality. He admitted that he was very relieved when he got out, because instead of being released and going home to a family that might not support him anymore, or if there was a family waiting at all, he came out to reporters and a supportive staff environment.
And so in saying that and recognizing that, then right now, I know the initiative, the Civil Rights and Justice Initiative, have been working along to help people to feel comfortable in their environment. That's one of the components that you've been working on. But this might be another one, is to provide avenues for young people to feel as though, when I come out, what's left for me?
Yes.
What's left for me?
Yes.
You know what? I really do wish that we could continue our conversation on, Jesse, but we've got to go. But I will say kudos to you and everything that the Justice Initiative has been doing, because, again, just as I started off, I want to end it that way. Continue to keep running with your hand held out, because the establishment now are getting older, and they're ready to hand that baton to people just like you and just like Ed Moore and so many others who are working to make a difference in our community and to make a difference in the lives of young people. We'll see you back here next week with more Local Matters.
So good. Felt so good. So felt so good. Felt so good. Never felt so good.